Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Happy Friday. I know most of us know me. My name is Dr. Joy Onwatu. I decided to make this common life. I have a few things I want to say. Many of you know me as an HR professional, which I have been for over 15 years. I want to be very brief with this live broadcast. It has become expedient for me to do this because of the revelation and knowledge of what God wants to do with me and through me. And then I thought it's important for me to put this out. I like being straightforward. I like being open. Okay, when you want to work with God, you ensure that your heart is clean. If you've done anything before, put it out there. Okay, so God builds on that foundation, because the Bible says that the foundation of God's throne is righteousness. So because I have grown with that orientation, I like to be clear and open, with my life, especially when I know that I know the earth. Okay, first of all, I want to give a background of who I am. Okay, so I'm doing this broadcast because one, I want to let people know about what has been going on in my life since last year. Waking up one morning to realize that who you thought you were, is not exactly who you are. Okay, and then waking up one morning to find out that God has a plan for your life. And so I want to be able to share that with people because of tomorrow. Okay, and then give a background of what my life has been since I was born. Okay, and then where God is taking me to, and then how it concerns you. And then I want to tell you about something that many of you may not know. Okay, and then I want to make it public, so that tomorrow when God begins to use me, nothing is misconstrued. Okay, it's open. Nobody comes to say, Joy, it's not true, you went here and you went there and you got this and you got that. I like being, people who know me for transparency. You can ask find out from my HR colleagues when I was running NHRP, Network of Human Resource Professionals. I know that's what many of you know me for, HR recruitment and all of that. Yes, I'm a very open person, and so now that I know about this truth, I feel I know it is the right thing to do, to start with God on a clean and a plain foundation, because that's what God builds on, basically. Okay, so I also want to, many of you don't know about many things, right? So I want to be able to say that to you as well. Okay, and then I also want to let you know, about the move of God, which will commence soon. And then use this opportunity to give hope to people who have lost hope. People with ailments, people who think that God, God doesn't want to come to their help or to help them. People who are sick with different ailments, what do they call it? Deadly diseases, cancer, HIV, all kinds of deformities, autism, and all of that, right? These are the things that the power of God can do, and that happens when God comes. Okay, so this is and then I would okay, that's what my broadcast is going to be about. Okay, so just a brief introduction of who I am. My name is Dr. Joy Onwatu. I'm a doctor, not medical doctor now, by virtue of my exposure, experience, and background in HR, and my contribution to the HR community. I have now earned that doctorate fellow membership with Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. Okay, and I have a master's. I had to pause. I lost my mother in 2022, so that affected my master's degree program, and it's on hold now, but I'll continue next year. And then I have a background in education, English, from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And then childhood. Okay, so I was born into a family of 3 children, and my father and my mother. I lost my father in 2009 after a brief illness. Okay. And then I lost my late mother in 2022, and that was after a brief illness. I don't want to go into details about that now. I also lost my sister in 2018 after a brief illness. Okay, losing almost all your loved ones. You can imagine it's traumatizing. And then coming now to understand and know the things that brought about their death. I don't want to go into that, but may their souls rest in peace. And of course, I have a brother who's married with his family, and then God is keeping us. Okay, and of course okay. So growing up, okay. So then I know many of you, for those who know me, they know that I've been married before. That was in 2029. I want to be very plain, because when God wants to use you, you want to be open and transparent. You want to be open and plain, so that people can read your life like a book, and God can actually appreciate it and anoint you the more, right? So 2009, that was just before my service. I got married, and my first marriage was, I've been married twice. My first marriage was with a man who I met in my I used to attend Federal Ex-Students Christian Association, and that was when I finished from school, from secondary school. And of course, and in my SS2, to be honest, there were some wrong influences I had in school that I'm not proud of. I don't want to talk about them, but I wasn't proud of them. Secondary school influences and all of those stuff. I'm not proud of them. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say them. They are things I'm not proud of. Okay. And then I got married. Now, before I got married to this man, I don't want to go into details about a lot of things, but I also want to protect his privacy as well. But because God wants to use me, okay, I want to be open and plain, so that people don't think that I woke up and just divorced and don't know what exactly happened. Okay, so we had a distant relationship, right? And it was just about, I think, about less than 3 months or thereabouts, or 6 months. Less. No, I've never done cutting of up to 6 months. And so long story cut short, prior to getting married to him, I remember my parents were not in for it. They wanted it. They didn't want me to get married to him. But I don't like it when parents come to tell me, when my mother comes to tell me what to do. Tell me, when a mother tells you, over my dead body, you marry this person. Why do you? I don't know why mothers do that. Okay, you don't do that. If you don't want your child to marry a particular person, you give the person the reasons. Okay. And then you don't compel it like it's an authority. Okay, we're adults, right? So that I was uncomfortable with that, and everyone in my family. Okay, so my family didn't want me to marry him. I beg your pardon. My family, is my late mother, my late sister, and my late brother. Okay, and then but eventually. I said no. I was going to risk this. It was a problem. It was a problem in my family. But eventually, because I don't like it when people tell me what to do. Insist on it and not letting me be an adult. Okay. So I made up my mind I was going to marry this man, and so I traveled to Lagos. I was in Owerri then, I don't want to go into. Yeah, I met him in my fellowship sister's boyfriend's house. Okay, and that was where he met me. I want to marry you. And then initially I was like, okay, no. I don't know this guy. I just entered university. I've always been a very reserved and conservative person. So I just got into university. I wasn't really interested in getting married. I was just, I wanted to just, read my books. And then after 4 years, he comes back and he calls me on the phone and says, okay, what I asked you for 4 years ago, I would want to progress with that. I want to marry you. And that tripped me, and that was what really tripped me. And I decided to, okay, let's do this, okay? And then I made up my mind, and then I traveled to Lagos and to see his family. He invited me to see his family, and I came. And I met with the mother. But before then, I mean, there are some things I'm not proud of, okay? Yes, we're not, I know that before we got married, a few things I noticed that he had, dysfunctional, private part. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but I have to, because people need to know what happened to me, why it happened. Okay, he had a dysfunctional private part, and when I noticed it, I asked him, why is your own like this? I don't want to go into details, but it was dysfunctional. For me to have the boldness and confidence to say this, that I'm having to do this because I need to do this, not because I want to embarrass him, okay? And please, wherever you are, if you watch this video, please don't be offended. I need to do this so that it's clear that I'm not a problem, really, okay? And so I noticed that there was something faulty, and I asked him, why is your stuff like this? And he says, some people's own are like this. And to be honest, I've always been a very conservative, reserved, decent girl. I didn't know things about body parts and all that, but I knew something was wrong with that. And so 1 year into the marriage, my first marriage was in 2009. So 1 year into the marriage, no child, and then he begins to, he became nasty. I need a child. If they give me a child, give me a child and all of that. Give me children. I became worried because I looked at my life. I said, I've not lived an indecent life. I've always been a decent, conservative person. I didn't know so much. So I said, okay, it was becoming a problem. I said, okay, let's go and do a test and let's find out what the problem is. So I went to the hospital, and I did my test. They ran a check on my reproductive organs, and they said I was fine. And then I came back, and I said, okay, test, and they said I'm fine. Do you want to go and do a test? Because as at that time I didn't even know. I knew something was wrong about that, but I wanted to be sure. When he told me that that some people's own are like that, I was okay, there's something wrong about this, but I wanted the proof. So I told him, okay, go and do your own test. I've done my own. They said I'm fine, so go and do your own test. And then he refused. I said, why are you refusing? You're blaming me for your childlessness. Go and do a test and let's know what the problem is, and let's see where it's coming from. Okay, so I told him, go and do your own tests. I showed him my results, and after so much persuasion, we went together. I beg your pardon. We went together, and then he was examined, and his semen was right? Yeah, the semen was taken. And they ran a test, and of course they examined him, and obviously it was obvious. I'm sorry not to embarrass you wherever I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I'm saying this. I'm so sorry. Please don't be offended. But they examined him, and it was obvious that something was wrong. And so I got home, and I was angry because you were born like this. You did not tell me, and because you took advantage of my being novice, being ignorant. Okay, so I was angry. You knew that something was wrong with this, and why come to blame me for your childlessness? Why would you do that? You knew that this is wrong, that something is wrong with you. Okay, and so I said, okay. Anyway, he started crying and all of that, and then I said, okay, let's adopt now, since you can't there's a problem with your there's a problem somewhere, so let's adopt a child. And so I remember once we were living together, even though of course we still having quarrels and misunderstandings, and of course I was angry. I felt that I knew that he had deceived me, and because he took advantage of my ignorance, right, you know, he made me marry him. And so eventually, so there was a time I was sick, you know, I had typhoid, I was admitted. I came back home, and his mother came to the house, and his mother, you know, called me aside and said, you know, I think he had mentioned to his mom that, you know, I found out you know, that he's the problem. He has a problem, I mean. And so the mother told me, you know, called me aside and said, but you can go and, why not go and get a boyfriend somewhere who would give you a child, right? And you don't have to discuss that. People do these things, you know. I mean, you can go and get a boyfriend who will give you a child and bring it to the house, and nobody will know, and people will live together. I felt very uncomfortable with that advice. I mean, I'm not judging her, it's her level of understanding. So, but I felt uncomfortable. I projected into the future. I said, okay, tomorrow I do this, and then I bring another man's, you know, child into my house, into then his house, and then what happens? Tomorrow they would say, Joy has gone to go and, you know, sleep around, and, you know, they will call my child a bastard, you know. It was not a tidy advice, so I felt grossly uncomfortable. So at that point, and I noticed that, I think that's what he discussed with his mother, for her to come and tell me. So I said, okay, at that point, I made up my mind I was going to leave marriage. So from that day, we started having very, very gross issues. You know, everything triggered me, triggered him. We were just angry, and I said, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I won't do this anymore. I will not go outside and get pregnant for another man and bring it to my house. And bless her soul, that was her level of understanding. But I mean, it doesn't work for me. And so I made up my mind. I left the marriage. That was in, I think it was the following year. You know, I think it was in December 11, or no, our marriage lasted for about a year plus, about 6 months or thereabout. And so I had to leave. And of course, you know, everything was returned to him. You know, returned his bride price, divorced. He was called to, of course, we served him paper and all of that. And I didn't even know how to even defend that thing. You know, to call somebody to the court and say that this is what happened. That happened. We served him. He didn't come to up court, and after all the proceedings, you know, I was granted a divorce, and that was what happened in my first marriage. Okay, and so I stayed on my own. You know what it means. Not being exposed and being a conservative person, and not knowing so much about, you know, love and marriage, but, you know, you have a lot of love in your heart, you want, in your mind, your life, you want to give out, you want to find the right person you can really, you know, do life with, you know. Okay, so so not knowing so much about, you know, love, relationship, you know, being a conservative person, you know, he exposed me to a lot of vulnerabilities. I hope I got it. You know, and then because I wanted to get married early, have children early. I remember a relationship I had sometime. You know, it was, I just, you know, it was obvious that, you know, I needed guidance. I didn't have mentorship. I was just a novice. Didn't know how to go about my love life and all that. And men decided to take advantage of it. And of course, and after that time, after I left the marriage, I had a relationship that was messy. You know, once they know you've been married before, everybody wants to take advantage of you, and, you know, and all that. Then I left it eventually. And then I stayed on my own. I think I stopped anything relationship for about 5 years. I was on my own, no man, nothing, and I was still young, you know. And then here came pressure from my mother. But before my mother's pressure, I remember working with a company in Kimberly Clark, you know. That's the company that produces Huggies and all that. I remember, you know, when men see you're beautiful and you're quiet, they just want to take advantage of it, right? And then a certain man comes to me and tells me he's no longer married, he's divorced, and then he wants to date me, he wants to marry me and all of that. And the whole relationship got messy, but I wasn't convinced that man was saying the truth, because I had to go and do a background check. Something about him was very fishy. It was fishy and not tidy. So when I did a background check, I discovered that he had issues with his wife, but then I discovered that he was still living with his wife. So it's not like he divorced his wife. They had issues. So he took advantage of the fact that, I was vulnerable, and then I know when you've lost a relationship, you've lost a marriage, you've lost a marriage before, you are vulnerable. Okay, you are looking for care, you're looking for the right man. You actually need care basically, but then unfortunately you find yourself falling into the wrong hands. And unfortunately I did, when I was in a relationship with a man, and it was messy really, but when I discovered that he took advantage of me, I was determined to hurt him. Okay, I have to be plain with you, because I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to find a way to, that kind of thing where this man just came and took advantage of you because he felt that, you're a novice, you're ignorant about things, right? And then he took advantage of you, and then things happened, and then I was looking for a way. I didn't want to let go because I wanted to hurt him, and then people started talking. People knew about the relationship, so they started talking to me, and they didn't know in my heart I really wanted to hurt him, and then when you are decent, you're decent. Who do I want to arrange for him? I thought, should I go and look for area boys? All the negative thoughts came to my mind. How do I just to beat the hell out of this guy? She's stupid, that kind of anger, who the hell are you? Why do you mess with me like this? And I tried all I could, but unforgiveness. It was a messy relationship and all of that. And then one day I think I went to Dominion City. I wept my eyes out. I was praying, and then that passed. And then came my late mother with her, what do you call it? Pressure. I need a grandchild. I'm like, okay, what is it again? Okay, what is all this? Grandchild. Okay. And I also was considering the fact that I was already, I was about 33 or so. Okay, so that happened. I went to church, and then cried my eyes out and all of that, and I wanted to get healing. Okay, I cried. I remember that service. I wept. In fact, I stopped. It got so bad. I was so hurt that I stopped going to church. As at that time, I stopped going to church. I didn't want to hear anything about forgiveness because I really wanted to hurt that man. Okay, but then eventually I went to church, and I remember last Sunday I cried my eyes out. I cried. I wept, and after it, I just took it out of my heart, my mind, and then I moved on. Okay. And then came my mother's pressure, get married, don't get married, I want great grandchildren and all of that, okay? And being a decent person, decent, conservative, I don't go out. My work, my HR work, my business, that's what I've always been about, okay? HR conferences, impact, let's go here. If you go to my profile, you see some of those pictures, let's go to this school, let's go here, let's go to the modular babies. I was just about, impact, development, and all of that, okay? And, okay, I said, okay, get married. Who will I get married to? I don't go out. And, I also, my problem has always been that I have not found that man, I haven't found that man who has, the kind of values that I'm looking for. Okay, values has always been my problem with finding the right person. All right, and so because I couldn't find that, and because I was not also outgoing, I was looking for. I decided to, okay, settle for whatever it is. Okay, let me just settle down and just marry and have children so that I can get my mother can get my late mother can get off my back and all that. But it doesn't work that way, because when you go that way, you get your hands burnt and things go wrong. Because that was really what made me go into that marriage. Because despite my mother's pressure, really, I should have actually found a way to maneuver that, but it happened anyway, and this is me telling you what happened. Okay, and then so I meet this guy online, Facebook. I don't go out, to be honest. I don't go out. In fact, the outings I've ever had in my life has been my HR community. We go to the movies, go to the beach, and this happened during anniversary, my birthday, or maybe once in a while we have an outing, You know, I remember once I went out with Yemi Ajayi, then we were dating, you know, and all that. That was when we went to the beach, no, to the movies. You know, I don't engage in. I'm very conservative. Okay, those things don't trip me really. Okay, so I was asking myself, well, what will I see the man? You know, and then I can't remember the church I was attending. Okay, I don't want to go into details. So I was asking myself, where will I find this man? So somebody chats me up one day and says, "Oh, I like what you're doing. Oh, I used to attend at FECA. FECA is the church, is a fellowship, Federal Ex-Des Christian Association. I used to attend when I came out of secondary school. Okay, so I grew. That was where I built my foundation. You know, the foundation knowledge of God I had, and you know, I thought I gave my life to Christ. No, I gave my life to Christ when I finished in 2003, when I just finished from my NYS. You know, my mother wants me to get married, right? And then there's no man. Okay, so so he chats me up. You know, remember I said I gave my life to Christ in 2003. Okay, I did like this because I'm going to explain why I did like this. Right, gave my life to Christ. I did like this, and then this young man chats me up. Oh, I like what you're doing in HR. Oh, you're doing well. You're making impact. Okay. I attended. Okay, I'm also a FECA, you know, member. You know, FECA, like I explained, is the fellowship I was attending when I was in school. Yes, from when I finished from school to university. When I finished from university. Okay, and then so that made me comfortable. I said, okay, let me engage with this person, since you know we both attended the same fellowship, you know. But I have a problem, which I'm trusting God that, you know, I'll have a mentor who will be able to guide me. Okay, I am too trusting. I trust people easily, and that's not good. I know I'm a leader. I know I have founded companies that have been successful. But, you know, that part of me, I need to look at how to work on it, because people should earn their trust. And sometimes I ask myself, why is it that people cannot be trusted? Why is it that we can't have people develop values and, you know, people can be I don't know why. But, you know, this is the world we live in. But, you know, I trusted the guy. And then one time he said, okay, I want to send you a book. You know, he sent me CV writing textbook and all of that. I was happy, hey, you know. I said, okay, perhaps this is the Mr. Right, you know, Mr. Right. Okay. And so we got talking and calling, and sometimes he calls me, you know, chats me, and all. Sometimes I chat him and all of that. And really, because my mother had put pressure on me, and I wanted to really settle down, you know, so I was giving my ear to it. But the man was not, it was here and there, really. He wasn't straightforward. Okay, so eventually we got to the point where, okay, let's move this to a relationship, okay? And then I traveled. So he invited me to Okigwe. He was living in Okigwe then. Okigwe is in the Imo State, so I went to see him. And then when I got to see him, one thing and another, and then he told me, and so we started talking about marriage, relationship. I wanted to know, because I mean, I think I was 33. No, I can't remember how old I was, but I think I was 2 years older than him. He was 33, I was 35, or thereabouts. I can't remember. No, this was happening in 2019. I can't remember how old, but I know I was 2 years older than him. And so we got talking and all of that. And then I wanted to know, okay, bros, what's your plan? You know, we're having, you know, it looks like we're dating, right? So what's the plan? I want to get married. And then he says he's not ready, doesn't want to get married. And he's not ready. So I was curious. I said, okay, what's keeping you from getting married? Okay. And then he didn't tell me. I thought it was because of money, because he was working in Union Bank, and you know he was working in Union Bank. So for me, I was also working. I wasn't self-employed then. I was employed. I think it was Kennedy. No, I was working with Kennedy also. One of the, yeah, I think so. Yes, I was working in Kennedy Consulting then. So I wasn't very buoyant, but then I was comfortable. I knew I could put a few things together, and support, and support the wedding if that was a problem. So he didn't go into details, so I was worried. But he did two things I noticed. He did not want to commit at that time, but he also did not want to lose me. Okay? Because he saw that I went, and then I saw messages in his phone, from different girls and all of that, And then I kept it to myself. The following day I said I was going. So I left, and then I went, I told myself I was going to end this relationship. So, because it was obvious that, he was the straightforward person, which has always been my issue. Why I've not had a good relationship. I asked myself, where are all the men with values, strong values, healthy? Okay, so I asked myself, where are all the men on earth who have, healthy value system? That has always been my problem with keeping friends, relationships. People don't have values. People just do things the way they are and all that. I knew that. So when I came back, I called it off with him. I remember telling my pastor then, I said, this man is not straightforward. I can't do this. This is what I saw. He has a lot of girls in and there. Because I saw text messages and, conversations that he has had with, girls. Then, and then my pastor advised me and said, okay, Joy, and nobody's perfect, right? Just try and see, pray for him, trust God that God will change him and all that, I thought I could do it because, okay, perhaps, my excuse was, okay, distant relationship is in Okigwe, he was in Okigwe and I was in Lagos, perhaps when we begin to live together, things will, be fine. And then eventually we got married April 27th, 2019. I remember my pastor came for that wedding. That was in Owerri. And then, in fact, something happened that night. The eve of our wedding. He had gone out and he went to party. You have a wedding early in the morning, and then you go partying a night before. I don't know how that happened. In fact, I don't know how that could have happened because I also think that I wasn't being objective because those were red flags already. And I remember when he returned that morning, I told him I was going to call off that wedding. I remember sending an SMS to my pastor and I said, I'm going to call off this wedding. I'm not this man's mind is this heart. His heart is not in this relationship, And then I remembered, all of those things, and then my pastor didn't respond to me. Because my pastor was already in Owerri then. He came for my wedding, for the wedding we had. For the wedding he came, and then eventually and then he came, and I was furious. I said, no, this can't happen. I can't marry you. Is this how I'm going to be living with you? Is this what I'm going to be? How about you go out, you go clubbing in the eve before your wedding? Who does that? You should be happy. It's time to sit down, plan with your wife. Okay, what kind of family we have? Okay, pray and all of that, and then you go out to club, and then return in the morning and all that. Okay, and so I said I was determined to end the marriage, the wedding. I didn't want it to hold. And so in the morning, so he started begging me. He pleaded, he begged, he begged and begged. And I said, okay. I remember on the altar on that day, he was when the priest would say, do you take this? Do you take Joy Onwatu as your lovely wedding? When you're exchanging vows. And he was begging me on the altar, please don't end the marriage. Please don't end it. And to be honest, I was going to end it because it was obvious that this is not going to work because our values were not congruent. He was just in his own world. He wasn't ready for marriage and all that. But then I went ahead and we exchanged vows and we got married. And of course, like my guess was, it was hell. It was hell. This is one decision I took in my life I regret grossly. There are many decisions I've taken that I regret, but this particular one was a mistake that should never have happened. In fact, I'm sure when my colleagues heard that I was getting married to that man, they were worried. Is that Joy getting married to this? have children. And then because my late mother was on my neck, you know, get married, I want children, I want grandchildren, all of that, you know, I decided to just, you know, hop into that. And so it was a marriage of hell. You know what hell? You know what hell is? Have you experienced? Has anybody ever experienced hell? Right? And in all sincerity, you know, when you do something wrong, okay, sorry, I'm having network glitch. Okay, so you know, when you do something wrong, you own up to it. That's integrity. You know, integrity is not perfection. Integrity is recognizing when you do something wrong, and then you acknowledge it, and then you find a way to make things right. Okay, so I knew that. I honestly, you know how you know you're entering into fire, and then you enter it, and then it starts burning you, and then you're asking, okay, but you took the decision anyway. Right? So yes, I acknowledge that I should never have gotten married into that marriage. It was a mistake. It was a mistake because it was 9 months of hell. We lived April 27 April 2019 till December. That was the length of time we stayed together. It was hell. It was hell. It was hell. I can count how many times he slept in the house. It was hell. It was hell. I know how many times I developed high blood pressure. I was admitted in the hospital because it was hell. You know, you and then at some point I had to start tracking his phone because you want to be sure that, you know, you don't want to get infected with HIV. Oh, I'm sorry, wherever you are listening to this, you might come across this video. Don't be embarrassed. I have to say this because of the future, okay? And then you know, so I had to start tracking his phone. I discovered that, you know, while he's at work, he'll just, you know, leave the office, find himself somewhere else, go and stay with a woman, you know, and then discovered that he was, you know, having things to do with prostitutes. You know, it was a very messy relationship, very messy, grossly messy. You know, I was asking myself, how did I get to this point? You know, and it continued, and then I remembered, you know, and then I decided to call it quits with him because when I discovered that a woman was pregnant for him. Now this is somebody that came to Lagos to stay with me. The plan was to stay with me where I was staying, so that, you know, eventually we get a place and then we leave, because we had just finished the wedding and we're trying to save some money to get a place. And this man raises money, gets a girl, and I know those days he used to complain, no, you need to have flat tummy, you don't have flat tummy, you know all these young guys who want to, you know, flex with, you know, all these CCs. I was a CCO, but I mean, I'm not beautiful. But then I know that, you know, then I added so much weight, right? And, you know, it's good for a woman to stay fit and all that. So I know he complained, no. But it wasn't really about that. The guy had a problem. Yes, because if you love a woman, you stay with her and watch her lose weight. And, you know, if you think that she's not good on bed, you teach her. Because I've always been ignorant with when it comes to love issues. I don't know all of those things, you know. I mean, I don't want to go into details, you know, but you know what I mean, you know. I am a very loving person. I know how to love. But when it comes to very sensitive things, right, you know, I don't want to go into details, but if you think that you want to teach me, you know, how to be good on bed, if you think I'm not good on bed because I'm not exposed, right, you teach me. It's love, right? Yeah. So since you think that's what you do when you love a woman, really. So the truth is that he didn't love me, and he had his eyes out, because if really it was about love, why did he go to prostitutes? Why did he sleep with his bosses? Why is it that he sleeps with everything on skirts? Okay, so he had a problem, really. Okay, so eventually, after so much, so I decided to call it quits with him when I discovered that a woman, you know, was pregnant for him, and he had rented an apartment for the lady. So I have been tracking his phone and reading his SMSs, you know. So when I discovered that, now I decided that I was going to call it quits. I was no longer comfortable with him. Sometimes he comes back home, then he used to come back home, he would give me things to eat. So each time he had, you know, we had moments together, he would give me something to drink. So it was a case of the lady who, you know, influencing him not allow me to take in and have children and all of that. And so I obviously discovered that he was a risk to my life. You know how you're sleeping in your house and you're holding your bag because you think that the person you married is a human being, is a man, but then you married a rogue and, you know, a womanizer. I'm so sorry, I'm saying this, I'm so sorry, wherever you are. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but please, you know, okay, you guys don't know him, so he's protected. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, please, but I have to do this, not to embarrass you, but I'm sorry if you come across this video. I'm sorry, please, don't be offended, okay? Okay, so eventually, you know, he secures an apartment with a lady somewhere else. I don't want to call the name. And so he comes home whenever he wants to. Maybe you can see him once in 1 week, once in 2 weeks. Sometimes he will call you and tell you he's in Port Harcourt, you know, and then you can. How many times have I shared intimacy with this man? I don't know. He was up to five times. I don't know. It was obviously not it was obviously not marriage. Okay, so so when I discovered that he had rented a place for a lady, and then moved the things, because he moved his things from Okigwe to my house, to Lagos, where we were staying. So he moved the things he brought into the house to the lady's house. At that point, I said, okay, I was done with it. And then he goes out, he comes back very late in 2 a.m. He's knocking at the door. He's calling to open the door. I said, no, what is this now? This is nonsense now. I obviously made a mistake. And then that was when I said, okay, it's about time we said goodbye. And it was in December 2019, the same year we got married. I said, okay, guy, it's over, right? Just leave my house. Sorry, leave the house. Go and live with a woman that has a baby for you. I think it's better for you. It's obvious that I'm not the kind of woman you want to marry, right? So that was how we ended. And then my late mother returned the bride price. I sued him for divorce, you know, and you know all of that. We had to do, you know, undo all of that, and then other details, you know, private to me and all that. It's okay. So that's about my marriage. Okay, I my 2 marriages. You know, sometimes some people, not many people know I have married twice, because I am very private on social media. But because of what God wants to do with me, and because I will marry again, it is important to me and to people to know what happened with my 2 marriages and how it ended. So I want to make it clear and, you know, put it out on social media so that it is clear from the beginning that this is what happened. And if my exes think that, and then okay, so I'm getting to the crux of the matter now. So last year was a very gory, you know. Now I'll talk about my past marriages. I want to talk about my HR, you know, HR profession. I want to talk about my HR career, what happened to me last year and then this year, and then, you know, get to the point where I'll discuss, you know, where I'm going to, my projections, and what will happen in the next few weeks, and, you know, going forward. Okay, so talk about my projections and my HR career, and then talk about God's mandate, you know, God's move, and, you know, a few other sensitive things I will not want to dwell so much on. Okay, so last year, okay, so I for some people that know me, in fact, many people who are my connections here on Facebook, they know that I'm an HR professional. I've been into recruitment, and I've been very active with helping people with secure jobs. And then NHRP is a network of human resource professionals. I founded it in 2013. Right, instead as a group, and a WhatsApp group, and from there we grew. I registered it as a business name and became an association where I affiliated to World Academy for Research and Development. Okay, and that's World UK. Okay, and it was founded out of passion. I remember when I started, when I was in workforce, I wanted to enroll for some training, but because it was expensive. You know, when you're hungry for development, but then you don't have the funds to take care of them. Okay, so I said, okay, since I'm new in HR and I want to grow, let me bring together people who are experienced. Let's come together on a group and let's rub minds together, and then let's grow. And then I did that. That was how NHRP started. Okay, we started as an HR. We engaged on an HR group, on WhatsApp group chat, and then we grew to 1,000, about over 1,000 HR professionals. So along the line, I mean, I had a friend of mine, Victor Debayo, who suggested, okay, Joy, since you're doing well with training, why not engage beginners? Let's go. What about those who want to start HR? Reach out to them as well. That will be a good market for you as well. And so we started HR Academy for beginners and all that. And when he gave me that idea, I said, okay, since that was in COVID, that was during COVID 2020. I said, okay. No, he gave me the idea. I think he gave me the suggestion in 20. I think it was 2019. Yes, 2019. Yes. Yes, I remember, because I know I was still 2019. So I said, okay, since we're looking at 2020, and let's see what will happen. I wanted to make it an on-site training, because we were running on-site training then. But then because of COVID in 2020, I said, okay, let me do this. Let me make it an online program. And then from there, because of COVID, we were at home. I decided to make 10 transit to the online space. So all our training we're now running them online. And because I wanted to our value proposition for the HR community was the fact that we were providing quality and standardized HR training to the HR community, and they were subsidized, highly subsidized. And that was my value proposition, and that was what I came up with, right? And then so our training, I've been running training. I ran training in NHRP for 10 years. For 6 years, I organized training for free. I didn't do nothing. I didn't earn a cover. Quote me anywhere, a cover. I organized those training, and I see the money put together. And that's one thing I like about. That's one thing about me. I like transparency. I like integrity. I like being open, and that's why I'm doing this, right? And so, not for one day did anybody's money. Did I eat anybody? Not one day. For 6 years. 2013 to 2019, not one day. Hey, baby, okay, come and learn. And that's me. I like being passionate about people. I want to see people advance. I want to see people make progress in their career and all that. That's me naturally. Okay. And so when that happened, I told them, okay, so we transited to the online space, and we continued. Then eventually, when I started online training, it started going well. I'm trying to give you okay, sorry, my network is here and there. Okay, so I'm trying to give a recap of how how I went into my finances went south, and all of the things that have happened to me throughout last year to this year. And then I'll tie it into the God's mandate for my life and the realization of the truth that I didn't know existed. Okay, and then projections, and then progress and all that. Yeah. Okay, so I started doing very well, because in 2020 I transited from on-site training to online training, and I started earning. Okay, so of course this was God trying to reward my efforts and my service to the HR community. So I was making good money. Okay, I was earning in 7 digits. Okay, all my trainings, I've never had a training that I earned less than 7 digits. Okay, so I was doing well for myself, right? I was comfortable and all that, right? And then coupled with the fact that so I continued that in 2021. I started Select Prime. Select Prime is Select Prime Human Capital Training. Select Prime Human Capital Limited, not training. Sorry, right? We provide we are providing HR services and all of that, right? And so I left paid employment in 2021 in June, and then I started Select Prime. Okay, so I was doing well in both, basically. Select Prime wasn't giving me so much money, but then it came also in 7 digits. I think I can count about 1 or 2 times I made my inflow was in 6 digits. But I was doing, God was faithful to me, right? Now God was rewarding my sacrifice. I've always been an excellent person, right? I like professionalism, excellence, and that has been that is me by default, right? So God was rewarding. This was reward for my my excellence and organization, ideas, creativity, and this is reward really for all of the value I was added and all that. Yeah. So so my HR community, NHRP members, they had a problem with the fact that I was doing well. Okay, and then there was a setup. I don't want to go into all of the details about what happened between myself and my colleague, because that's where it all started. Having to ask for money, tip, and then from one of my business arms, and then from there, I don't give tips. I'm sorry. I appreciate people, but I don't give tips. I don't give bribe. I don't give all of those things. I hate it. I don't like them, right? And so one thing led to the other, and then tried to lie started, and that was where all of these things started. And so when this whole issue started, when I had this business transaction with this person, right? Tried to lie. I know how many times I slept on the road in my car. I remember having getting threat calls, threat messages from people I don't know, telling me that they've been paid to kill me. And thinking, I'm wondering, I don't have anything to do with bad people, right? I live my decent life. I've always been a church person, right? I don't have any. What's my business with people? Why would somebody want to kill me? And last year was a very gory year. Running from my house, I was paying 1.350 to sleeping in the streets, on the streets, and in the streets actually, right? Sleeping in my car, and then from what this is I had my accommodation paid fully, right? And I couldn't sleep in my house because there were people here and there, who were organized to want to hurt me and all that, and I left and all that, and eventually a lot of things happened. I don't want to go into details because those things are past now, right? But then those things that happened is how I got to realize that there is a call of God upon my life. Those things that happened is how I got to realize that there is a truth I didn't know existed. I'm saying this because I have personal convictions. So it's not just what I was told. This is my personal experience, right? The truth that there is no God on earth. If you go to my profile, you would see my page. You would see some videos I made. As I'm talking to you, I feel fire on my back. God is not on earth. All we have is witchcraft. And then to wake up one morning. Now, so I was trying to say that my losing my two businesses is the reason why my finances went south. If you go to if you watch some of my videos, you would see where it was obvious that something was not right with me. So my HR colleagues, they teamed together, they withdrew their businesses and all of that, and I lost everything, right? But it was in this process I got to realize the truth. God is not here. I thought I was born again, but I'm not born again. I don't know. I asked the question. I said, how many people are born again? Are you sure you're really born again? You go to church, but are you sure? Do you want to ask yourself that question? So I came to this realization. Now I'm going to talk about my personal convictions are the experiences I've had, right? The voices I hear, familiar voices I hear, people I know that have identified themselves. Now hearing this is not hallucination. This is people I know. I'm not going to call anybody's name, so I want to be very careful. But these are people I know. And then how the experience of me having to run from pillar to post, sleep in hotels, and then these are people. Now the disguise was the fact that I did not pay the tip that the lady had requested for. But that's not the truth. The truth is that everybody, that was an opportunity to kill me, because there's a mandate of God on my life, and that mandate is for me to pay the price. I will bring God on earth, because God is on earth. That's what I was told. But I say this because it was last year. You know, people say I've lost, let me even say, say I've lost a lot of weight. Yes, I remember going to the bank yesterday or 2 days ago, and they couldn't recognize me. No, the picture we have on our system, I lost a lot of weight, and you know, why did I lose a lot of weight? Last year I was fasting, marathon fasting, because some founders of ministries have told me the truth. Last year I didn't understand the impact of what was going on, because I was like, okay, it's not calling, everybody's called, some people are called, and then, you know, I didn't know that there was something different about it. And then I remember I had a dream in 2020, yes, about a dream. I had about a dream where I was made I wasn't made a king. I gave 1,000 naira to a king. I had 1,000 naira in my hand, and I gave 900 naira to the king, and then I gave 50 naira I saw a blind woman. I gave 50 naira to the blind woman, and then I said to myself, and I saw a woman with a child, and I said to myself, I want to have a child. You know, I want to get married again, and I want to have a child. And then I gave 50 naira to the woman, you know, who had a child, and I woke up from that dream. And I also remember that in 2022, I was told, you know, I hear, you know, those voices I was hearing, I thought it was the Holy Spirit, though, to be honest. I thought I was hearing voices from people. I thought it was the Holy Spirit that was speaking to me, but now I know it's not the Holy Spirit. Somebody told me in my ears. Now this is spiritually, not that, you know, told me I would use it to start a new order. I don't know. Somewhere I heard that. I don't know who said that, but I heard that. I was wondering, new order. No, the person said two things. The voice. Let me not say the person. The voice I heard said two things. It said, I will use it to start a new order. One, and secondly, the voice said, you will marry an influential man. These two things. And this was happening in 2022. And prior to then, I had dreams. I've been having dreams about people trying to pursue me, to kill me. And I had dreams that, you know, when I came to my, I had dreams about people from my late mother's, some people in Owerri, you know, wanting to kill me and all of that. You know, I've having dreams about killing me, oh, joy, die, and all that, and all of those stuff. And then, so I knew there was something about me, but I didn't know what it is. And I remember before my late mother died, she would tell me, she said, I see you entering a plane, I see a host of army people around you. You know, she used to tell me things like that. She told me things, and I'll be like, you know. I didn't have a very wonderful relationship with my mother, because she put so much pressure on me about marriage and all that. So, but then she told me things, and you know, we are good at some points, right? So she would tell me, see, I'm seeing people. Oh, I see you. Oh, you know, she would tell me, where are they taking my child to? And all that. You know, she's seeing people, greatness around me and all that. I said, okay. I didn't take them seriously until these things started happening to me. And this chase for my people, I said I was sleeping on the road. I remember going to one church. Please, can I sleep in your house? Because I could not sleep in my house. People were literally after my life, and it came under the guise that really that voice would have been God. I don't know where that voice came from, because sometimes I sit down and I think, I try to imagine, because all the things that was said to me and the things that happened. Yes, you know, telling me that. And I remember before this chase after my life, when I was in 2021, I was told Abuja, go to Abuja. You know, I woke up from a dream one day, and I had a dream where I relocated to Abuja. And you know, I was asking myself, what am I going to Abuja to do? You know, but I woke up shouting Abuja. You know, so I knew that in this season of my life, I needed to touch Abuja. I don't know, but the only person I knew in Abuja. Of course, the only reason why I know I would be in Abuja was because of Koinonia. I attend Koinonia, you know, Apostle Joshua Selman's ministry and all that. And so, you know, all the experiences I had, very strange. Everywhere I went, everybody wanted to kill me. I was sleeping in what do you call it? Sleeping in hotels and all of that. You know. Eventually, you know, some founders of ministry last year took me through the move of God. You know, they were training me from a distance. You know, telling me about the move of God. You know, how God wants to move me, you know, use me and all that. And then some of this, they were also telling me, you know, giving me, you know, insight into what will happen, the plans against me and all of that, you know, from a distance and all that. So some founders of ministry as well, right? And then eventually, a lot of things that happened. Even prior to this thing that happened to me, I remembered, you know, some things that had happened in my life, in my adolescent life, that I'm not proud of. You know, when men know that, you know, you're beautiful, and then, you know, you don't have a partner, they won't take advantage of you. Some things, I don't want to say them, they're apparent to me, but there's some things that I did that I'm not proud of, you know. And then now taking it back, at that point I wanted to even let me just not have a child, you know, because marriage issues. Okay, I've not found a good person to marry. I've not found a man who had, you know, the kind of values I was looking for and all that. So I said, okay, Joy, just go and have a baby, you know, and just live your life. Marriage is not for you, you know. That was dead, you know, but now there is hope. With the truth I now know, there is hope. There is hope for me, okay? And so I just said that, you know, in passing and all that. And so, you know, fathers of ministry took me through, you know, the move of God and all of that, telling me things, you know, they were telling me things, plans against me, how they wanted to kill me, they wanted to kidnap me, how they wanted to rape me, make me become a prostitute, and, you know, that also tied into why I lost my finances, you know, my source of income went up and all of that, you know, everything was just working as they had planned, but then God using people, you know, to, you know, keep me afloat. Thank God for my brother who stood for me. You know, thank God for the investments. Thank God, and thank God for him. You know, for he stood there for me, and then for the pastors that, you know, for the pastor who was there for me. The times I needed funds, I need to acknowledge them. Pastor Femi, thank you. You know, and to my brother, thank you, and to my cousin, Chinese Ni Ato, thank you. Thank you. And yes, last year for the HR people, some HR people who were there for me, thank you. You know, because, you know, when it was obvious that, you know, my life was under threat, I eventually had to shut down my businesses, because I was not settled. I was running from pillar to post. Okay, so at that point I didn't have cash flow, right? So I remember there's some HR professionals that, you know, had reached out to send some money to me, and thank you, Feka. Some people Feka, thank you, Udochi Ahuche, thank you, Ugona Ezeka, thank you, Ugona Ezeka, thank you, Ifeanyi Owakwe, thank you to everybody who came through for me last year. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, right? And then and so that happened. So fathers of ministry were taking me through, you know. I remember that last year, you know, I started fasting. I started doing a marathon fast, right? You know, I would fast, and then I'll be feeling, you know, some kind of I don't know. I feel like energy. This is like, I thought it was power of God. Okay, on my left hand. You know, and okay, so I thought, okay, God has come. Okay, I have encountered God, and so I kept fasting, and that's why I lost a lot of weight. And okay, that continued, but eventually, I was told it was just here and there. I don't want to go into that detail, right? So eventually, this year, oh yes, I want to thank and really openly acknowledge Apostle Joshua Selman. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the word of God that you have always taught. Thank you for being the mentor I trust, the mentor I can look up to. Thank you, sir. grateful, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then, and so my life continued, and then this year, it took another turn. Then I realized that, okay, so I think it was in February. Okay, so because I had, cash, I was running out of my finances. I didn't have money, sorry. So I had to leave Lagos, and I had to come to Enugu. I went to Enugu because my rent was 1.350 in Aja, but then I couldn't renew. And so God, and then thank God for the business that came from one of my clients, from my colleagues. And so I took that money. I left Lagos. I gave out all my property, all. I think it was only 3. I sold 3. I sold my my 55-inch smart TV. I sold my AC 1.5 horsepower. I sold my mattress. That was in mattress. I sold them, the 3 of them. I just gave them out at the giveaway price, right? And then every other thing I gave it out. I gave out everything, every other thing. My sofa, my second television, my dining table, my freezer, everything. I had to give them all out because I couldn't renew my rent, and I didn't have what it takes. I didn't have the funds to secure an apartment in Lagos because of the high cost of living and rents that we have in Lagos. So I left, and I don't want to go into all the threats that were coming from where I was living before. I don't want to go into them, spiritual threats and all of that. I don't want to go into them, right? So I left for Enugu, and I got to Enugu eventually. I got to Enugu. I now noticed that everywhere I went, everybody wanted to kill me. Some people wanted to rape me, wanted to kill me, rape me. And I said, what's going on? What is going on? I still don't understand what. I thought it was because of a particular incident that had happened between myself and that lady, but then I got to this hotel somewhere in Enugu, right? And then I couldn't, the same thing happened, spiritual attacks, witchcraft there and there, then they come together, so I had men trying to gang up to rape me where I was and all of that, and eventually I said, okay, let me get a place, secure an apartment, and so I can, have a place to stay. Okay, so I got an apartment I didn't know it was a student. I didn't know it was a student hostel. I didn't know. I wasn't told. So eventually I got a place. It was a self-con. That was what I could afford then. And then I moved in. Of course, I didn't have anything basically. I just wanted to just have a place I can lay my head and just stay and just know what's really going on in my life, right? Moving into that apartment, this same issue about people, men trying to look for a way to rape you. I had seen visions of somebody, I don't want to call the name. He and his wife, they are founders of a particular ministry. I had seen him in my dream where he pulled me down, because I didn't know he knew about God's mandate for my life, right? So, and so I got to realize that she was the one who also wanted me to become a prostitute just for me to, digress from God's plan for my life and all that. Okay, so I noticed it everywhere I went. Okay, everybody wanted to sleep with me. When I say sleep, they don't come. They make attempts, but then I don't know. This thing just throws them back. Every time they make attempts, something throws them back. Make attempts. That's been what it is. They come and then they go back. They come, they go back. They come, go. That's how it has been with me. And then I started hearing voices. Okay, I started hearing voices when I was in Aja, right? I was hearing because I know when I was fasting then I could have people singing with me. Whenever I'm singing and worshiping God, I'm worshiping. I would hear voices singing, and these are human beings. And I'm wondering, okay, who are these people? And that was when I got to know that I was visible to some people, right? So I'm hearing they're singing. They were singing with me then, and then I remembered. I remember that when I was told, I was hearing voices. Really, I could hear voices. This is not spiritual. This is not spiritual people. This is not the spirits. These are human beings. I could hear voices. They're telling me that you're going to be raped. You're going to be raped. We'll deal with you. And when I heard that men were waiting for me to come out because I was always indoors. I was waiting for them. When I heard that men were coming for me to come out, so they can, pounce on me and rape me. I remember that day, I got a stone. This is my personal experience. I started hitting my leg. I was hitting my leg because I wanted to, God being faithful. The Bible says you are wonderfully and fearfully made by God, right? So God made me wonderfully. So I said, okay, anything that is going to be a reason why any man would want to rape me, let me destroy it. I remember hitting my leg with stone and all of that. Okay, but eventually, I took up the challenge. Of course, I couldn't break my leg. Don't worry, I've been through a lot of things. You can't imagine. This is me just giving a recap. I'm trying not to go into detail so that we can manage this, and all that. So eventually, I get to Enugu, and I'm in this hostel with students. Unfortunately, that's where I was. And then I started hearing voices. They're talking to me, okay? And that was when they started telling me about witchcraft, okay? I was hearing about witchcraft. And I don't know how many of you, I don't know if you have been sensitive. These voices come and you're not sensitive to it. Because there are sometimes they're not very loud, okay? But everybody on earth, I am told, is on this platform. I am told is on this platform. And it was in February I started hearing familiar voices. These are people I know. I could identify their voices because I've heard them talk. People I know, people I know. And I don't want to call names, basically, right? And so I was told that it's a platform where everybody is, even the people that listen to this. You're listening to this broadcast. You want to become a bit more sensitive and listen, because I'm told that not everybody knows that this is what's currently existing, right? Everybody is everybody on earth by default, from what I have seen and confirmed, and my own personal experience, is on this particular platform, and it is not God, it is witchcraft. Now, being witchcraft is not that people are practicing witchcraft. It is that this earth, by default, is a witchcraft altar. It's a coven. It's dedicated to the devil. And so when you are born into this earth, you're born into this earth, you don't have an option to choose between God and the devil. You, by default, you are a witch. You are the devil's child. And that's why people die and they don't know they're not going to heaven. They don't know. And let me shock you more. The voices I hear, I have heard my late father talk to me. And he still talks to me. I think he spoke yesterday. I have heard my late... I'm fine. Don't worry. These things will make sense in the future. So let me just say it here. Sometimes let them make sense to you now, but in the future, it will make sense to you. I've heard my late father, my late mother, my late sister, my late mother talk to me. I've heard familiar voices. I don't want to call their names. At least these ones are late, so let me just mention them. Talk to me. And that continued. It was in May that it dawned on me that in truth, there's no God on earth. Why? From last year, when I started praying, last year, when I started praying and all of that, I started noticing fire. They were sending fire to me. Last day was power. They said there was the power of God that was, my left. They said it was the power of God, but now I know it's the power of God, right? There was something else, a feeling I was having on my left hand and all that, right? And then eventually, when I moved to where I was in Enugu, now they said sending fire. You know how they send fire to you? Sending fire to me, fire to me. They were sending fire to me. Fire, serious fire. If you go through my Facebook post, you will see some videos I made. Now I'm not feeling it so much. I'm feeling that on my back. They will send into my head. I'll feel something move on my head, and then it goes to my back. My whole back, that middle, will be on fire, and then it comes under my feet. this is fine. Sometimes it could be so hot that, but if you touch, literally, I touch my body. I touch one part of my body, and it's very hot. And I remember that in Enugu, they sent fire. They were sending fire to me, and I would touch the wall. The wall would be so hot. I kid you not. I mean, my HR professionals, my HR colleagues know me for one thing. They know me for truth. You know, I can't come here and start yakking. I don't do that. I don't blackmail people. It's not consistent with my character, and I have values. I stand by. For me to have the confidence to do this, you should know that it's the truth. People that know me very well know that I don't do this. I can't come out and start saying this kind of thing, right? Touching my wall, I could touch my wall. Literally, I could feel fire from my wall, on my wall, very hot. And this is fire sent by people, human beings who are witches and wizards, on where I was living. And then this kept happening, and it is still happening till now. As I'm talking to you, I'm feeling it on my butt. Now I'm putting my hand under my butt, and I can feel my butt is hot. But it's not as severe as it was, as it has been. Yeah, reduced. But yesterday it was really severe, and now I'm feeling it again. And this is witches and wizards, human beings who are living together with me where I'm currently staying. They may not be necessarily practicing witchcraft, but why is Joy the only person on earth who gets to feel this fire, right? And so that was when I knew that there was something about me that I've not been told. And then, you know, conversations still happening, and then I was told that was when I started hearing, I don't want to mention names, I was told that, you know, God had sent me to pay the price that would bring him on earth. Okay, and then there was a revelation I got to know that there's something called speaking. They say speak. So the voices I hear are the thoughts of human beings that have been given a voice. So people are thinking and they are talking. So they are thinking and they are talking. And so I'm told that is how everybody on earth is except me. So I don't think and talk. I don't think and talk. I listen to people thinking and talking, but I can't talk when I think. It's weird. But it's the only way I can actually explain it. Okay? And then my convictions as well is the fact that I feel fire and I am visible. So I'm looking at my screen now. As I'm looking at my screen, everybody on this earth who is aware and is sensitive to what I'm currently saying can see my screen. I have proofs that I don't want to go into. Right? I have proofs. So I remember, you know, I'm walking on the road. Every time I'm walking on the road, people are talking. I can hear them talking to me. From Enugu to Lagos, I remember, you know, God of mercy. From Enugu to Lagos, everywhere I find myself, people are talking. People want to hurt you. They want to do something. They want, you know. So I have my own personal convictions and, you know, my own experiences. Right? You're walking on the road and they're saying things to you. You can hear them talking to you. And sometimes, you know, some things want to happen. They are letting you know and all of that. You know? And so with all of these evidences, the fire on my body, and then, you know, the fact that I'm visible to them. When I say visible, I mean that the entire earth can see me. I've heard people. I remember sometimes I'm going through Facebook and then I see a name, and then I hear, who is that person? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? I don't know you. Who are you? I can hear it. Who are you? How did you get my picture? Oh, no. She said what I'm saying. Oh, what's going on? You know, this is people coming to the realization that I just looking at their picture, they pick it from the realm of the spirit, and they begin to talk to me spiritually. And people will wonder, what is this that has happened to Joy that she didn't know? In fact, with my personal conviction and my experiences, I can tell you the truth that I'm not born again. I'm not. And I don't know who is born again. I don't know. You know, not to embarrass, but I want us to be a bit more sensitive. Okay, when you're doing things, so you can hear voices. You know, Yes, try and say, okay, I beat my leg. I'm tapping my leg, and people all over the world can feel this. They don't know I'm the one. They don't know that. They think it's their body, but it's me. I'm going somewhere with this, right? I'm tapping my leg now. I know for those of you who are online, if you're truthful to yourself, just check and see if you can feel a tap on your leg, right? If you can tap, yes. I know you wouldn't want to say, but that's happening, right? And then when I'm hungry, I don't say it, but people will tell me, Joy, go and eat. We are hungry, making us hungry. Voila. And then I'm pressed. I want to go and eat myself. Somebody they will say, Joy. I won't say it to somebody. Will say, Joy, go and eat yourself. You know, you're making us pressed. These are all my experiences currently going on. Okay, so from all of the things I've said now, so we start having meetings, because we have meetings. I have meetings with these people that I know are human beings. They think it and they talk it, and so we start talking. So they're the ones that start telling me things, right? Okay, about me and what God has called me to do and all of that, right? And of course, the fact that fathers of ministries have also, talked me through the move of God and told me about myself, my distance and all that. Of course, I'm convinced that this is true and not a hallucination. Okay, and so why is it that Joy is the only person who cannot talk on earth, who cannot speak on earth? I've heard my cousin speak. That means I've engaged with her physically, and while I'm engaging with her, she's talking to me physically, but I can hear her talking to me with her thoughts. In her thoughts, I remember her telling me, so some cousins, I mean, not necessarily the one, not necessarily the one in Lagos. I mean, some of my cousins, I mean, I've visited at some point, right? And so I can hear them saying to me, okay, Joy, this is what it means to speak. They are talking to me verbally, like I'm telling them, okay, Ezine, how are you? How are you doing? I'm talking physically, but then I'm hearing them say, okay, Joy, I'm sorry about what I told you yesterday. I'm sorry I said that to you. This is what it means to speak. That is, they're talking to me verbally, but I can also hear their thoughts as a voice in my spiritual ears. No, it's weird, but it happened. It's happening basically, right? So why is it that Joy is the only one people can see spiritually? Why is it that when Joy taps her leg, people feel the pain? Why is that when Joy is pressed, people want to ease themselves, and they're telling Joy, go and ease yourself, you're pressed, you're making us pressed. Everything, every movement, every of my feelings, everybody on earth feels it. Those who are sensitive, right? And those who know about this truth. Why? Why is it that Joy hears voices? So from conversations that I've had with these human beings who speak from the spiritual world, and they are not necessarily people that are practicing witchcraft. These are, like I told you, that our forefathers, from what I heard, what I was told, our forefathers delegated this earth to the devil. And so what we have on earth is witchcraft. And so because we have witchcraft, so people are born onto this earth, and they find themselves as witches and wizards. And yes, we go to church, we do all of those things in church, but yet we're not born again. And so we find ourselves, those who die, they end up in the grave, they end up as witches and wizards, and then nobody has been going to heaven, because God is not on earth. And so from the meetings that we've been having, so I was told that there's a protection that was done. So the reason why people hear me, people can feel me, is because there was a witchcraft sacrifice that was done on my body, done with my body, so that to protect me from harm, because living in the witchcraft world, and God has called you. You have to be called you to pay a price that will bring him on earth. You have to be protected, right? And so I was told that, okay, so that's the reason why people can feel me. I tap my leg, and people can hear me, can feel me. And of course, there are evidences I have. I cannot disclose. This is a sensitive conversation, so I'm careful not to disclose these things, right? But this is my conviction, and that is why I said that this world is a witchcraft world, right? I have my own evidences, which I will not disclose. Okay, it's like I said, it's a sensitive conversation, right? So And so, I mean, if you haven't been experiencing what I have said, perhaps won't be sensitive, because by next week, this sacrifice that has been done on me, that this sacrifice that was performed to protect me using witchcraft, will be undone. And so I know that from next week you will no longer feel, joy is back. You no longer hear joy. You no longer see joy. Joy is visible. Joy is visible in the realm of the spirit. So you look through joy. You can look at joy, and then you can look through what she's saying. You can look at her phone now, because joy is looking at her phone, and that happens to everybody, right? And from time to time, those who are sensitive, basically, right? Not everybody that is sensitive to what's happening. But can I also let us know that let's be aware of this truth that I have discovered, and with my personal convictions, right? So that when the move of God starts, we find ourselves in some churches that God will be using, to execute His agenda on earth, right? Okay, so the crux of the matter for me now is that I have to go and undo this witchcraft sacrifice that was performed on my body, not with my body, on my body, to protect me. Okay, I was going to be killed last year, and let me even mention it, I was going to be killed last year in December. I don't know, I had a dream where somebody came back, threw a knife my forehead, and then there was this thing that was protecting me, which I now know is a witchcraft spirit, right? Yes, it was protecting me. I remember when, where I was living before, where I was at some point, I meant, there were darts, witchcraft darts, that were thrown at me to make me blind, to make me cripple my legs, and to make me mad, but all of those things did not have effect on my life, because there's a protection on my body that was on my body to protect it, because because of course people want to fight, and that's why people, every time I go out, that experience I had last year, I was going out, each time I go out, people wanted to kill me. Even when I was in Enugu, I remember going somewhere to go and do my teeth, to work on my dentition, and then there was an attempt to rape me, and all of those things and all that, all of this, all the things that have been happening are all indications that that they're my convictions, and they're my truth, right? Okay, so to wrap up my broadcast, because I need to undo the God is truth, right? God is righteousness. God is purity and integrity and transparency and openness, right? I would be visiting a witch doctor to undo the sacrifice, to undo the effect of the sacrifice that was performed on my body, so that I will be free and have the liberty to call on God in truth, give my life to Christ, and then call upon Him, and then I will have an encounter with Him, so that I can have so that He can come and tabernacle on earth, which is His creation, and then He will take over, and then for ministries and individuals, families that would want to experience the move of God in their lives, their families, okay, at the point where that starts, then we'll find a way to do that, okay? And so by next week I'll be visiting a witch doctor. Now the witch doctor is going to perform I don't know, I've discussed with him. This is a witch doctor from my recommended to me by my uncle, Uncle Edmond Onwatu. Yes, and so he has recommended somebody, giving me somebody. FO is a witch doctor in Asaba. So sometime this coming week, next week, I'll be in Asaba, and I'll be at the witch doctor's place for him to perform, to undo, because it was witchcraft that was going to protect me. Okay, so they will also use witchcraft, because that's what we have actually. That's what we have on earth currently. So they will use witchcraft, they would use witchcraft, I don't know how they would do it, to cleanse, to cleanse the protection that was done on me, to take it out actually, so I'm free. So they will take away all the effects. Yeah, so all the fire I feel, I no longer feel them. You know, the fact that I can hit my leg and people will feel it, that will stop. And then people will stop seeing me, because, you know, I'm told that as I'm looking at my screen now, people who are listening to this conversation, they can see what I'm doing on my phone and all that, right? And so that's the essence of going to visit the witch doctor. So once that is done, you know, I'll be free from which I'll denounce witchcraft, you know, denounce it, because that's what we have, not because I practice, not because I've never been to a witch doctor's or native doctor's house before. I've never been there. This is my first time of having to do that. I'm having to do that because I need to undo this protection that has been placed on me, so that God, you know, can, you know, tabernacle in my life, and then I can do what He has called me to do. Okay, and then I think it is important for me to do this broadcast, so that my life is open, and everybody says, you know, knows everybody gets to know the truth from the beginning. And so tomorrow, when God begins to use me, people will not say, Joy, what's going on? Why you've been an HR professional, when did you enter into ministry? It was important for me to say this, so that we'll know there'll be a context to God using me. And then, you know, and then, you know, to know that you would have to go to a native doctor sometimes, you know. It's yesterday I was crying yesterday, because it dawned on me that it's something I have to do. And yes, I have to do it, because this protection needs to be off. I need to begin to seek God. And then sometimes you're telling yourself, God, why did you choose me for this? You know, I've been through a lot, but it's a privilege, really. It's a privilege to be called by God and be used by God. And then and so, yes, so this coming week I'll be at the witch doctor's place at Asaba. And then I will yes, once I'm done, I'll come out, and then I'll begin to seek God. Of course, I come out, denounce witchcraft, and then, of course, you know, start that foundation, which is God. Start on the foundation, which is God, and then we'll see how God will make this everybody's experience, as many as who are interested in having God in their lives. Okay, and so that's it. That's what I wanted to tell us. Okay, so tomorrow when you see God using Joy, let this video remind you, let this broadcast remind you how we got here. Okay, and then yes, and this is where I want to end my broadcast. And I want to appreciate everybody. I want to appreciate founders of ministries who have you know, held it together. Okay, regardless of this, you know, truth. I don't know how many of them are aware. Okay, but this is my experience, right? This is my experience, and then this is it. And I thought I want to recognize all of them. I can't mention names now, but I want to recognize and say thank you, sirs. God bless you. God bless you. And I'm hoping that, you know, I'll get the opportunity to be in your churches, your ministries, your families, your businesses. You know, when I have an encounter with God, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time with God once this witchcraft stuff that was done on my body is taken out, right? Once it's done, yeah, I'll spend a lot of time with God, and then let's see, and then trust God for plans. And yes, I'll settle down. Yes, and I'm trusting God that, you know, now it's obvious to me that the man that God has destined for me is somewhere on earth, and perhaps I was impatient, and I would have waited, really, you know, but it happened, and it's a lesson for me. So yes, I'm excited so that I'll be getting married. This is faith. This is faith. This is faith. This is me being optimistic. Okay, I'll get married again, and at least I've been able to provide a context to what happened in my previous the two relationships I've had. Okay, so this is openness. It takes a lot of confidence, a lot of temerity and boldness. Yes, to be able to say this, and courage. Thank you, courage to say this. But I'm saying this because I want my life to be like an open book, so people know where I came from. I'm not perfect. I've made my mistakes, and I've learned them. I've learned from my mistakes as well. And I'm hoping that we all will also look forward to this move of God. I know when God comes and when God comes, He would do what He would do as God, right? And then there's hope, restoration, healing, deliverances, inspiration. Many of us, all of us, everyone on earth, we all have a destiny, a glorious destiny in God. There's something about you. There's the reason why God brought you on earth. Thanks to the people who helped to identify mine. And now I'm going to be paying a price and will give God access to your life. And so, to our lives, basically. And so God begins to identify His vessels, and we begin to walk with God one-on-one, and He begins to reveal His plan for us. And then we have alignment. And then we begin to live our lives because we are building our eternal destiny. Remember, we're on earth temporarily. It's a temporal abode. It is our temporal abode. And in the long run, right, we will eventually, when we have lived the end of our days, we would find ourselves somewhere. Is that we're in hell or we're in heaven? And the life that we live on earth is what will determine where we are. It starts with salvation, and that salvation is the price that Jesus paid for, that I'm privileged and honored by God, to be chosen by God to give humanity access to. And then I want to say thank you to everybody who stayed to the end of this broadcast, and say thank you to all the founders of ministry. God bless you. God bless you. For those who didn't know, this is the truth. I know this is my own conviction, and based on my own experiences and things I've heard and people I've heard talk. I can't mention their names. This is my conviction. Thank you. God bless you for your labors of love. I pray that in as much as that eventually, the investments and sacrifice that you have made, in your respective ministries will make sense eventually. I don't know how, but let's find a way to connect with this move. Let's find a way to connect with this move of God that's about to begin. I don't know. And I want to say special thanks to my mentor, Apostle Joseph Mount. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking me through the move of God last year, for the word of God, preparing me for for the next level, next phase of my life. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now I pray that we'll find that which God has destined us to become. I will find it. I pray that we will not lose God. I pray that we will not lose our eternal destiny in God and with God. Okay, and this is where I wrap it up. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.